You're listening to the Better in Bavaria podcast, hosted by U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria Public Affairs, where we share stories and highlight the people behind them, the soldiers and Army civilians who support our readiness mission, all while making our community a great place to work, live, and raise a family.
Hello everyone, welcome to Better in Bavaria. I'm your co-host, Linda A. Reed. I'm a public affairs officer for U.S. Army Garrison, and I'm a very lucky American stationed here in lovely Germany.
Servus and welcome. I'm also public affairs officer and your co-host, Andreas Kreuzer. And as you may be able to tell, I'm a German working for the Garrison.
We're so glad to have you with us today as we encourage our listeners to be brave and explore our beautiful community. One of the first steps in enjoying the local cuisine is going to a German restaurant.
That's right. We are going to help you with understand the culture and customs when dining out in Germany. And today we have a super special guest who has worked for our garrison for about 40 years. That's 3 times longer than I'm here. He's being a top liaison between our community leaders, mayors, the military, Herr Franz Zeilmann. Welcome, Franz. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Wow, you're talking about me? 40 years already, it's a long time. But I still enjoy it every day, going to work, working with people, staying with people, and finding a lot of great friends. I found so many great Americans during that time, and many of them really became great friends for a lifetime. And yeah, I enjoy every day coming to that great community.
Franz, you are definitely the one to help us. And by us, I mean Americans who don't want to be embarrassed when we go out because we don't know the assumed rules. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about your topic today.
Franz, we both traveled to the States several times, and I remember about being surprised by a couple of things. So I remember going to an American restaurant and order a meal with a beer. And they asked me for my ID. So I thought maybe this is a joke, or maybe I'm looking so young. But this was not the case. I've learned that they're asking everyone and every time for the ID. And the second surprise was the beer they served. But maybe I accidentally ordered water. I don't know. So, Franz, what are your experiences?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The beer is different. But we're talking about Bavaria, and that's where you get the best beer and also great wine. There are a lot of differences, but nothing to be afraid. And just think about it, our differences just make us special.
Gentlemen, you guys are so funny talking about American beer. So we're just going to let that one go. And I can see how there could be some things that stand out. But after our show today, our folks are going to be a little bit more enlightened, a little more ready. So Franz, I understand today's topic, you're going to talk about the top 10 things to know when dining out in Germany.
Of course. I start with the number 10, and I start right at the bottom, right at the beginning. When you enter a restaurant, don't wait outside, wait until you will be seated. Find your table. You might have to join with somebody else, not very often, but it could happen. I think they call it family style dining in the US. If you don't speak German, you can gash there and just ask, hey, is it okay to sit down there? But of course, most of people here are very comfortable in speaking English, especially around the American communities. Sometimes it also helps to call out for reservations, especially on the weekends.
Okay, I'm going to let the beer comment go earlier, but I just want to say, before we go any further, that this is not about one is right and one is wrong. It's just a little bit about culture shock and the differences. But maybe not even culture shock, maybe a little culture buzz or zap. So, I definitely made that mistake of going in a restaurant waiting to be served, but the proprietor was so welcoming and guided us to a shared table. So Franz, what is your next tip?
My next tip is, you talked about beer. And talking about beer, beer is Bavarian bread. We're talking about food, we call it food. And talking about this subject, you might be asked if you want water or bread. I'm talking real bread, not the Bavarian liquid bread. It's not automatic and it's not free. It will be added to your bill. And the water most likely will be sparkling water. And there are no free refills on your beverages. I remember being in the US with my son several years ago, and he couldn't believe that the waitress kept filling up his iced tea and kept filling up and filling up. And I tell you, he drank all of it.
And if you don't like sparkling water, you need to order stilles Wasser, right, Franz? And usually you don't get a glass full of ice if you get ice at all with your drink, right, Franz?
Yes, that's true. My number 8. Almost most of the stores and services are closed on Sundays and holidays. But most of the restaurants, I would say almost all of the restaurants will be open, but shops are closed.
That is really good to know. At first, I was surprised by the closures on Sunday, as many Americans, as they start thinking about their next work week, will go shopping or do their errands. But now I find that I'm really enjoying the quiet relaxation on Sundays. And if you're not cooking, it's a great time to go out to a restaurant, something to look forward to.
Yes, and that's my number 7. Go out and meet at the local restaurants. And if you go over there, in the local restaurants, also called many times Gasthaus or Wirtshaus, you very likely will find a table with a sign saying Stammtisch. That's where the locals sit. Sometimes they play cards or just telling all kind of jokes and stories. It's where the local networking is going on and information exchange. It's the social hub of the community. And you might ask if you can sit down there. It's definitely the best way to get integrated.
And usually you find the same people there every time, sometimes every day, at the Stammtisch. So Franz, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is your server, the waitress or waiter, is not going to hover you during your meal. You might have to signal them if you want them at your table. Sometimes it takes a little while, especially during really busy times, but they will come, just let them know about it.
That is really good to know. I have noticed that. That's a little different. So before we get to the top half of your list, let's take a little break.
Like what you're hearing? Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe, like, and share our episodes of Better in Bavaria. Visit our USAG Bavaria social media to learn more. And remember, it's Better in Bavaria.
Welcome back to Better in Bavaria. This is Andreas and I'm here with Linda and Franz. We are talking about dining in Bavaria. What's your next number, Franz?
I'm with number 5 now, and we're going down really to eating. When your meal arrives, it's perfectly fine to start eating. Don't wait until everybody else has their plate. People want that you eat your meal while it's still hot. Enjoy it.
Thanks, Franz. That's really good to know. Everything is really good to know that you've been talking about. But when the meals come out, is there any order, like maybe an older person gets served first or the females? Or is it just as the chef makes them?
Just as the way it comes, as the chef makes it. Like I said, enjoy it, start eating. There is no rule who gets it first.
So Franz, what's your number 4?
At the end of the meal, you might have to request a check and not just wait for it to come to your table.
Right, Franz. You could be waiting quite a while for it to show up if you didn't ask for it. Take your time or have another drink while waiting. This is German Gemütlichkeit, which describes a state of coziness, contentment and well-being, and definitely no stress. Now we're up to number 3.
You're absolutely correct, Andreas. My number 3 is you pay at the table. Your server will have like a wallet folder to make your change. Cash is the most common way to pay in German restaurants, and not all the restaurants take credit cards. Don't be surprised if you find your bill on a beer coaster. Sounds funny, but it's true. Many times the waiter or waitress just mark your meal and beverages just on it. The coasters are very common in local restaurants and they can be a collector's item. Especially, you see them especially in outdoor restaurants or beer gardens. And most Americans expect to tip, and that's great. But no, it's usually around 10% or just round it up. And you have to hand the tip directly to the person. Don't leave it on the table.
Franz, you are really providing a great service to all of our listeners. I would not have known to hand the tip directly to the server. Thank you.
We're getting close to the top of your list. Franz, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is your server will not keep coming to your table, asking you, how is your meal? Can I bring you something else? Will clean your plate. They observing you, but they give you plenty of time to be, just comfortable, be at your seat and enjoy your meal, have great conversations, and being a guest. That's why we call it a guest house.
Okay, Andreas, we're getting to the top of the list. What do you think is number 1?
I'm interested to figure it out. These have been all good pointers. So, Franz, what's your favorite tip and advice about dining in Germany?
My favorite tip is relax. Take your time and don't look for a typical German chocolate cake. You will find it in Germany. We have hundreds of different cake options, all kind of great stuff, great chocolate, but we don't have a chocolate cake in Germany, a German chocolate cake. Enjoy your meal, try new food, and most importantly, enjoy your dining companions. In Germany, meals are in a more relaxed atmosphere. Don't be in a hurry. We want you to find a home over here. Enjoy your location. Enjoy this great community. Find a new home away from your original home in the US. We want you to experience our local cuisine many times with original, fresh and organic products. Just think about it. There are so many different types of food. We just have about 3,000 different types of bread. Unbelievable, but it's true. Experience it, try it. Germany and especially Bavaria is known for great people, wonderful countryside, lots of medieval castles, small towns with friendly people, great history, laid-back Bavarians like you and me, Andreas, and great food. That's how we are. And remember, when it's time for a toast, we say Prost. Prost for cheers. You must look in somebody in the other person's eye, and that's when we clink our glasses.
Thank you, everyone, for joining our Better in Bavaria podcast. So today's episode was Dining Out in Germany, and our guest was Franz Zeilmann. It was so helpful. Gentlemen, how do you say super thank you to all our listeners?
Dankeschön.
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 So I think this calls for a toast. Prost.
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 Better in Bavaria is hosted by the U.S. Army Garrison Bavaria Public Affairs team with producers Kayla Overton and Natalie Simmel. Contact us through our social media or website at home.army.mil/Bavaria. Tell us what you think and send us suggestions for our future episodes. And remember, it's better in Bavaria.